Welcome my friends to Plumbing with Tim. So glad everybody's here. Today we're going to take a few minutes. I'm going to show you the best practices when it comes to working on 2 and 3 handled tub and shower valves. Now if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please take a moment and drop down below and hit the subscribe button and make sure to ring the bell notification. That way you're not going to miss any of these great videos. Let's get to it. Now as you can see here today, we have 2 different kinds of valves here. This is a 2 handled shower valve and this is a 3 handled tub and shower valve. First point of practice before you guys decide to get into one of these valves, if you're out in the field, is to try to identify what kind of valve you're working with, and second of all, making sure you have the proper parts and tools necessary before you begin. Now you might ask yourself, how in the heck do I know what type of valve this is? Maybe you've been in the business for a long time and you're that good, but a lot of us don't know because there's literally hundreds of different kinds of these valves. So I'm going to give you a couple hints on how to decide what type of valve and what parts you need for these things. Now I do want to specify that don't ever rely on looking at the handles on these valves to decide that you know what kind of valve this is. Now the handles have been off of this one, but think about this. Over the years, a handyman or a maintenance guy may have replaced these handles because they got broke with something that kind of fit on there, and now they don't match the valve. So you can't rely on that. In this next clip, I'm going to show you where you can find these parts online, or unless you have an old plumbing company in town that carries these parts, or a plumbing supply. Every active plumber out there should have a set of stem wrenches. If you don't, they're about 10-15 bucks. You get them at any kind of local plumbing supply or whatever like that. You're going to need these in order to get in here to take the stems out. Alright, and this is how you're going to decide what kind of valve this is. Of course, you want to make sure all the water is shut off and everything like that. And you need to look up and see what exact kind of stem these are and what kind of valves they fit in. Now if you are unable at this time to locate this, put this back in the valve and tell the customer that you're going to have to find and locate that part before you do any work, because we don't want to leave the customer without any water. Now if you're out on a service call and the customer says, you know, my valve is leaking, it's dripping and stuff, and you remove one of these stems, sometimes you might get lucky if you look there and there's a rubber seal gasket washer that sits up inside of here. You may be lucky to be able to take a Phillips head screwdriver and back that screw out of there like so. Alright, nice and carefully, and take and replace that rubber seal that's on the end of there that's wore out. See that? But make sure you have that part. Now you can't always rely on this, and the reason why is because after years the head of that screw could be corroded and you won't be able to get any kind of screwdriver on there and it'll strip out. So unless you have a nice firm grip where you can get a screwdriver on there and replace that little washer, don't do it. I'd rather take the chance and find the stem that fits this kind of valve. So inside of your valve, behind your stems, you're going to have seats. Is what's called seats. They're all different sizes, okay, so you can't just one and done. Now what seat does, if you look inside of here, is your stem, when you open it up, pushes against that seat, that rubber seal, and that allows water in or out. And what can happen after years is the rubber seal can go bad, or in some cases the water quality can ruin and put little gouges on these precious little soft brass seats. And even though you have new stems in there and they push there to seal, it's created a void and it will never stop dripping. So you may end up having to get into doing your seats. But I'm going to tell you, here's what you need to do before you get involved with something like that. Most plumbers are going to end up telling you that 99% of the time they don't even have to worry about these seats, because a lot of times they're a pain in the butt and almost impossible to get out of there. So they just leave them in and just replace the stems, and it's good. But you're going to end up running into times where you're going to have to replace this. Most plumbers have what's called a seat wrench. It's an L-shaped wrench, okay? One side is 4-sided, that's graduated for different sizes. One side has 5 different sizes, all right? In this case, like this particular seat is 4-sided. So I would shove that in there and try to back that out. Now, if it doesn't fit in there snug and there's some play like that, stop what you're doing. I've seen other guys and plumbers take a flathead screwdriver and try to pull that out of there. Bad idea, because if you end up ruining this thing, what started off as a $150 service call could easily turn into a $500 valve replacement. So think smart. I do want to make it clear to all you guys out there that the traditional seat wrench is not an end-all fix-all for everything. For instance, let's say you get involved in an old Seiko valve and the seat inside of there is 4 slotted, but it's really small. So you go ahead and you take your seat wrench and look, your side that's small is 5 slotted, so it's not going to work. Alright, I have a tool I'm going to show you that's going to take care of that problem for you. This is a product by Pasco. It's called the Bib Seat Tool Set. Runs right around $15 to $20 at your local plumbing supply. Check it out. Look at this. I have choices now. That's a 5-sided for a small. And I got the 4-sided for a small. Alright, this will fit inside of a Seiko valve. And it's nice, these are all individual for certain different kinds of seats. So I have 8 different options here, which is more than a traditional, which only has 6. Alright, and on top of that, it comes with a little ratchet tool, so I can shove this tool into my seat like that. It's a nice, firm, solid set. It's coming out of there. Then I can take my little ratchet and I can adjust it either way I want. I can pull it in and out. And this sucker right here is going to save the day. You may not end up using this very often, but after the first time of using this particular tool set, it's going to pay for itself. Now, if indeed you do have to get in here and pull a seat out of one of these particular valves, always make sure ahead of time, get your old stems out and spray them vigorously inside and let that set up so it'll break the catalyst. Now you have a better chance of getting these things out of here. See that? Look at that. Hear it? It's coming. Because I got the right tool. And I've had some PB Blaster in there for about 20 minutes. Check it out. My standard little seat wrench probably wouldn't have taken care of that. There's your old piece right there. All because I had the right tool. Very, very important. Hey, that's all the time we got for today, man. I appreciate you guys all stopping by here and watch me show you how to work on an old valve. Remember, when you're going to work on these type of fixtures, make sure you have the proper tools to do these types of things. Like I always say, it's easier to break them than it is to fix them. Second of all, make sure that you have a way of getting the proper parts. If you can't get those parts that same day, don't mess with the valve. Put the stems back in there, order the parts, and when they do come in, you're going to look like a pro. Remember, time is money, and you don't want to leave the customer without any kind of water and have them lose their confidence in you as a plumber. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, comment down below, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe. Till next time, this has been Plumbing with Tim. Keep plumbing.